think this is where we stopped the bits last time, where I think this is the last thing we did, where we use a kind of this. So this is where we did. We stopped last time on using Matplotlib to plot a kind of variables like this, and then on that I'm going to head straight and type Jupyter Lab. So, and this will launch us into Jupyter Lab. So we are going to be using the same Matplotlib which we have been using, but today we might decide to add something like, let's say, a kind of a ticker, M ticker, so which we are going to be talking about. So on that, this is part of the data we have been using down here, and if you open up here, you can see here we have most of the things we have been doing. So I can decide to click on here for new, and then based on what I did last time, look at what we used a few days ago, and then I can decide to copy here and then make a copy, or right click on it and say duplicate, and when I duplicate I should be able to see the new one which I duplicated. So if you see here, you see this one now, and then I can double click on it and that is going to open here for me. So for this I can choose to rename it. So in this I can rename it from here, and that rename will be here, and when I rename I can say I want to do a stack plots, and then we are also going to do stream graph as well. So, and these are two things we are going to work on today. So this is stack plot and this is stream graph. So stack plots and stream graph. So this is it. Now based on what I explained last time, I think this is where we stopped. This is what we did last time. So I can click on this to close this up a bit. So which I can decide now to clear the remaining parts, and on clearing this I can just decide to delete this. So for this Matplotlib is already here, and then I'm going to delete this, also delete this, and also delete this, and as well delete this one. Then we have this here. So what I just need to do is to run it, and this to run is to make sure it is working, because we have stopped the kernel from running. So for us to bring it back, we need to bring it back again. And like I said, today we are just going to do an import again from what we have been doing. So I'm going to still import from the Matplotlib here. Here I'm going to paste matplot because it is matplot, but I'm going to use ticker, and then I'm going to import it as mticker. So whichever way I want to name it. Like I said last time, it's just for you to name it, and remember to be using the variable as you want. So for example, we are going to be using land cover land use as well, so we might just choose to use the land cover land use we use, although that might not be that might be a perfect example, but that might not be a perfect example as well. So but let's still use the land cover land use, and then we are going to start with defining the variable as year. Then in defining the variable as year, so we can choose to define a variable, put them in the list. So let's say we want to start from 1960, so we start from 1960. So because it is a list, so we are not going to be just going to be using comma. So we have 1970, we have 1980, we have 1990, we have 2000, we have 2010, and let's say 2020. This is where we want to stop, and then because it is a list, so we close the square bracket. Now when we close the square bracket, so we are going to put changes. So let's start with the changes. So we can say changes, for example. So let's go with changes over the years. So we go on with the changes, and in changes we are perfectly going to use dictionary like we always do, and then in that dictionary these are the changes that happen over the years. Now we can choose a variable, And then let us go back to this part of the code. Okay, I think this is not the perfect way, but I think there's a place we did land cover land use. I'm not sure again. So but since we don't have, I can't remember it, let's use bare soil. Let's use built up area, built up. Let's use built up area. I'm going to go down and let's use forest. Then what else again? Let's make it about 5 variable. Let's use forest. Let us use farmland. Then let's use water body. So let's type it as water. So remember, we're creating dictionary. So all this, as it is supposed to be in like this, the soil, this is supposed to come in like this because this is what it is. So with this, so we need to define the changes that happen in the bare soil over the years. So in this way, so because it is a dictionary, it have to have key and values. So we need to open a list for it, and then in opening a list for it, so we can start with the changes. So let's start with 0.2. So we go with this, and let's say, okay, let's make it a number. So let me make it 0.2, and let's say make it 2 4, whatever. So we go again, we make it another one, we say 0 point, let's still make it 0.3 1 1. Then we go again, we say 0.4 something, so whatever, we just need to put it. Then this is for 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So we have 1 2 3. So let's go again, 0.5 0.5, another number. Let's go again, 0.6, and then let's go again, 0.7. I think we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6. So let's make 0.8 something again, and then with the same rules we are using. So the next thing we need to do is we need to close it up. So we can close this up as it is a list. So do you remember, you put your comma, and we can also start with this and put this up like this, and put this up like this, and then what else again, put this, and then open up this up, and then the same list we are using. So I can decide to copy this from here to here and make a modification on it. So I'm going to copy this from here and then paste it. So probably let me put this as 1. No, that's very far. So let me still leave it at 0, and then only be changing this as 3. Also change this to 4. Also change this to 5. Then change it to 6. Then change it to 7. Change this to 8, and then change this to 9. And then with the comma, I can copy all this and do a comma. Remember, since I have this here, if I press enter to return back to normal where it is. So I need to take this, and then it's still in dictionary, and then I can paste this. Then I can also change this to 4. Then change this one to 5. Change this one to 6. Change this one to 7. Change this to 8. Change this to 9, and I can make this one 1, and let's say 1.2. And then I can also copy this as well, make a copy, and then return back to this and press enter so that I can make this in dictionary like this, and then go ahead and open and paste this one. I can change it to 0.5, 0.7, I can change it to 0.9, I can change it to 1.7, I can also change this to 1.8 and make this 1.9, and then I can make this 2.2. Then I will now also I'll now copy this and do the same thing for waterway here. Put it the same way, like this, and then with this I paste this. I can change this to 1.5, 1.7, and make this 1.9. I can make this 2.7. I make this 2, make this 2, then I'm going to make this 3. Then this is 9, that's a spark, so it's going high, so let me make it 2. So with this I've added 5 different variables, and these 5 different variables have a close, like what I'm saying, they're close in the sense that it have 5 for each of them. So in this case I can press here enter, and then I can close up with the dictionary which I started. Now with this, we remember we have defined the type of data we are going to be using. So after defining the data we are going to be using, we can go ahead and start making some plots. How do we make some plot? We'll call the same way, which is like we have been using, like figure. So and then we can use those figures now to make a plot we want to make. So how do we call the figure? So we will start with fig, that is figure, and then we define the axis, and in the axis we can say plt dot, we call it subplot. We have been using subplot, and then we define whichever subplot it is. Then we say ax dot, we are now looking for stack. Remember before we were using different, like scatter, we were using bar, we are using bar h, but now we are going to use stack. We are going to use ax dot stack plot, and then we are now going to call, what do we use here, sorry, here we're going to call this CA here because this is what we want to plot, and then we pass this CA variable in here. And then what else do we need to work on again? We are going to pass these changes because that's what we want to plot in together in the stack. So we pass this as the next variable, and then when we pass the next variable, what are we going to be plotting? We are going to be plotting that changes, but we are interested in the what, in the values, because that's what we are going to be plotting. So in that way, so we pass the value into it, and when we pass the values into it, what else do we need to do again? We need to define other parameters. For example, what do we want to label it with? We want to design the parameters, but we also want to make a labeling to it. In that labeling, what are we labeling? For example, we can say let us make a labels, which the labels is going to be what, this soil here. So we are going to pass that into what is the label now. We are going to call the label, which is the changes which we have copied here. So let me paste the changes because I have copied it before, but in this case it is going to be the keys, because that's the keys here, which is the best soil we are using here. So we are going to pass the keys, and then what are we going to do? Alpha. So we can use the alpha as completely. So let's use the alpha as, we can use 0.6 for example, let's go with 0.7, and then we close this up. So on this, you see now that we started with the opening bracket, this bracket inside, this bracket is that, and we close it with this bracket. So with this, we are able now to get this done the way it is. So as you can see now, so we have defined the way we want it to be. Now in this case, remember our plot. So if we say plt.show here, which is our normal distance, so let's now run this and see what happens here before we go ahead to define the rest of other things we need. So we now go ahead and say here run. So you can see what we have plotted here. So it is now in stack. So there have been a changes in this particular pattern of stack for 1960, for 2000, 1970, 1980, 90, 2020, and 2010. So if you want to work on a stack that is in this kind of categorical data, so you want to see, oh, this is the changes that happen over the years, and this is how it happened. So you can see what happened here. There have not been much changes in blue. So we are going to make this, you see here, this is blue, this is orange, this is green, this is red, and another color, trying to make these changes we've highlighted here, so we can see the changes. Assuming, let me use 1990 here, and let me change the first value here and make 1990 here, which is 1 2 3 4. which is 1 2 3 4. If I change this thing to 10, for example, and rerun the same code again, you can see there is a spike here around 10, which is exactly what happens. So this, all of them is stacked, so there is a kind of changes that happen here around. And so because of that, I don't want to make that, I want it to flow in that category. That's why I'm putting it. So you can see now these changes that happens here. So if you look at the water body here, for example, you see now that the water body have a kind of increase here among others. So this is a particular way we can make this plot a kind of a stack. What do I call it? I said here it is called a stack plot. So you stack those data together. So now what else can we do to make this better? So we can decide to now from here we can decide to add a legend. So in this we can say a legend here, and how do you write legend again? Legend. So we can now pass the legend into it. Now if you run this, you see now that we have a legend here. Remember what I told us about legend and positioning, location. I've said something about this many times, but I'm going to still repeat this again. When I told us about when you put 0, what does it mean? This legend, you're telling the legend, put it at the best fit. Sorry, argument expected location. So put it on the best fit. That is location supposed to be on the best fit. So if you also say put it in the best, and then you run this, what's supposed to happen? It put it on the best, says the return what shows the keyword location. Ooh, where did I pass? Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. It doesn't supposed to come here. I made a mistake. So it's supposed to be here inside legend. So if you pass it like this, you can see it says put it on the best location. You can see here best is not defined. There are values like upper right, upper left. So like I says last, so we are going to go to center, upper center. So let's use upper left here, and then remember we need to pass it like this, and then we run the same code again, and we see here we say upper center. What did I write? I put up upper left here, not upper left. I'm making a mistake. Let me check. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake because this is supposed to be small letter upper, and I put the big letter upper. So you see here, this is upper left. So if I want to put it upper right, I need to put it, change it to upper right here, and run the same code again, and you see it being on the upper right. If I need it at the upper center, so I just need to type it the same way and change the location. And remember, there is something I said last time. I see upper center here, and I also say that if you don't want to put them like this, by putting the location and pass it 0, sorry, I made a mistake. There is no need because it is a number. So putting the location and pass it 0, 0 put it on the best fit. And then I've talked about this from 0 1 to 5 down to 9. I've talked about, if I put 5 here, you can see the position where it is. So I've talked about this. So if I put 0, so that means I am referring to the best fit here, so which I'm going to pass 0 into it if I don't want to write upper left. So you can see I have passed the location of the legend into it. And then what if I say in the legend here, you can see here, here I can also say in the aspect of reverse it for me, and I say that the reverses have to be true and true. And then if I run the same code now, you can see that what happened, it reversed it for me because it started from the ground. So I also want to put it like this. So but if I don't want it to be like that, either I remove it from what it is, or I pass first to it. Or you see now what happens is start from the ground here, but look here from the other side, you see that the best soil is down here. But if I want to make it reverse, so I have to pass through keyword here to it, so that it is going to revise it to this pattern for me. So you can see here that I've revised it and it is now true. Is that okay? Any question? Yeah, any question? Go ahead.
Okay, I did not get the true and the false part.
Okay, I'm saying, for example, I want to remove this reverse, and I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to run the code now. Now, when I run the code, look at the bare soil here, which is blue. Look at where it is down here. Look at the built up area. Look at it here. Look at the forest. Look at it here. Look at the farmland. Look at it here. Look at the water. Look at it here. So assuming you have a land cover land use, which we have been using so many times to plot, and we said, okay, we are not interested in showing the land cover land use as per individual plot or as per different years, as per 2023, but we want to put it in a stack plot. So we come up like this. So what I'm saying here is that if you look and see the bare soil here, or bare soil is down here, which is the down one, but it is on top here. I want this arrangement to be arranged in this pattern so that water level will come up as water level is here. So that means in the legend here, I have to pass reverse is equal to true to it. If I leave it without true, it means come by default. So, but if I run through now, look at bare soil here. If I run it now, you see bare soil is going to come down. Look at the bare soil down here. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so that is a way where we can pass it to. What else again we can also pass again? We can also say ax dot title, set title. We have been using it. So I'm going to say title. And then in the title, so we are going to say we are using land cover changes from 20, oh not 20, from 1960 to 2020. What is the problem with this code? Is anybody telling me the problem with this code?
Okay, I don't know. I Is it the code or with the title?
Like I'm saying now, as the code is now, is there any check, any error if I run the code? Will it run well?
I don't. I think there might be an error because of the title that you
The
posted.
what?
The title.
Because of the title. Okay, yeah, so that's what I wanted you to tell me. So there will be definitely an error because of the title. Alright, so here I'm probably going to say area. So let me make it area in hectares, and then I close it up. So you can also make something, make it differently, whichever way you want. And if you run this, you should be able to see this putting it up like this is in at decade intervals. So this is yes a decade intervals. I've said something about ax dot underscore, that is ax dot set underscore grid. I think we have talked about it a bit, so it's not like repeating the same thing. Oh, ax dot set grid. So we have talked about this a bit before, like putting up grid. So if you're assuming you want to see where each of them stop, you can see putting up grid here. So if you don't need it, you remove it, which I'm going to remove. Remember the functions of this alpha here. If I put 1 0.1 and I run it, and then you should be able to see the way it is here. And then remember that if it is not 0.1, if you put 1, for example, and then you run the same thing, you can see the difference between them. It is clearly in bold and in full color. So for me, if you prefer 1, you make it 1. If you prefer 0.1, like this, I can make it 0.5. And then if you run this code, you should be able to have something that looks like this. So, but for me, remember we have talked about alpha before. So you can leave it at 1, and then you can see the transparency and the full color to what it is now. So as you see, this is the way it ought to be. Then you can also make a kind of let's put something like, let's say ax dot, let's make it in y axis. So we're going to say y axis, and let's set it to, let's use that particular thing we call, so we put underscore minor and then underscore locator. Then we now call the m theta, which was what we call the multiple. So we're going to call the multiple locator. So let's say here and say multiple, and then we are going to call it, let's use 2 here. And then when we run the same code again, and then it says m code mtheta is not defined. So what we define here, we use here as mtheta. Mtheta is not defined here. So what I wanted to do is to have this little grid intervals here. Name mtheta is not defined. Import matplotlib as mtheta. I think that's the correct key words to use. I don't know why I'm not getting it right, but it's supposed to be, it's part of the matplotlib, and it is called mtheta. So let me check something a bit. Be sure what, I guess this is wrong because I know it is so this couldn't be up here. They couldn't find the version of mtheta from known. No distribution found for mtheta. So let me check something a bit. Interpreter, implementation, interpreter, go in here and then click on the plus sign here, and then refresh this, which is downloading, and downloading the package info. So let's give it like a few times, and then let me post this, and then matplotlib. Oh, I think I've seen the mistake, so I'm going to return back here. This supposed to be ticker, this matplotlib dot ticker. So and import it as mticker, and then I am also using the mticker here. I think there is something I'm missing that I'm not really seeing. So let's say ax axis dot set minor underscore locator, and then the m ticker, and then multiple, I wrote it well, multiple locator on 0.2. So I don't know, but there is something I'm not really getting right well here. I don't really know what it is because the empty car I've actually defined it up here. So I'm supposed to be missing. So what I needed to do is small grid within here, but I don't know why it is not working. But I will need to look at the documentation to actually see what I'm not getting right. But actually, that's how we're supposed to run and give us the little tick within those intervals. But since it refused, I think I will check that and I will get back to us. Yeah, do you have any question? Sometimes we don't really use this, but I wanted to show us a kind of example of where you can use a stack plot like this. But most especially, one of the best way or one of the ways we represent what we are doing or what we represent the different data sets is by using stack, which this one is a perfect example of what we